rule on the internet. If people don't link to evidence they claim to have, they don't have that evidence. You know, there's a great Christopher Hitchens quote that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And likewise, claims made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So I just dismiss all claims like that. Start linking them up, and then we can actually judge for ourselves whether it was unfair, whether it was egregious, and whether he's blocked you for no reason because he's thin-skinned. If you just say it, but then don't show me the evidence, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're a liar and that you've purposely omitted your comment or the tweet because you want me to just believe you that he's some nutter and you're a totally reasonable person continually posting in threads about him, even though apparently, on one hand, you don't care about him, but you desperately want him to have to read your Reddit comments, Twitter comments. One of the things that pisses me off about Sadikist type scenarios is all the people who become like mad pearl clutchers and moral paragons who make out like they've never said a slur ever in their life, never would even think of doing it, and never privately say anything. Because one thing that tilts me about the world is people who act, because in public we have a social consensus of what we're allowed and to say and supposed to do, act as though they and themselves perfectly align with that, even though the majority of people I've ever known in my life didn't align with that, even if they pretended to. But you go and look, this is the maddest detail here. Are you ready for this detail? So if we go and have a look now, let's go and look at the team rosters, shall we? Oh, what's that? They've played 3 games, and in the 3rd game, the top laner, who I told you, in terms of the OPGG evidence, is the least a support player, fucking role swap to support, and then Ancourt, the support player, role swap to top lane for that particular game. This is a team of 5 support players. What's that they've done over on the Rock side of the equation? They've gone and banned 5 support champions. Fucking hell, I can't handle it. How have they done it? Vega squad now has 52 kills, more than almost a double gold lead, 10 towers to 0 towers. And let's go look at the scoreboard down here, shall we, boys? Oh, look at this. They've died twice. They have monster amount of kills and assists. They have massive bounties. And these Vivictus players can't do fuck all about it. And you know what else? It's 31 minutes. Why hasn't Vivictus... why haven't they actually called a surrender? Why haven't they ended the game since they know the game's over anyway? Oh, they're choosing to delay the game as well. They're believing they can still win, wasting everyone's motherfucking time because their team shouldn't even be in the fucking league with these players that they should never have been allowed to, that have made a mockery of the LCL and the competitive integrity that that league represents by even allowing these players to make a mockery. And so because they've made a mockery of it, this other team's decided, you know what? Prove you're a good team. Show that you can even stop us and kill us. Show that you can make us end the game. Because if you try to delay the game against another team, well, we all know in League of Legends there's anti-snowball mechanics. There's fucking gold bounties over there. There's times where you get enough farm onto yourself and you get to 6 items and they're on 6 items and you get your levels to the top level and you get a Baron and you get some dragons and you're going to win the game at that point in time. If you're a competent team, this team could never have done it. They got 2 kills out of a 54 kill game at fucking 31 minutes. They should never be in the league. The idea that the big problem here is the other team not ending the game, nah, homie, that's a symptom of this problem. The problem is that this Vivictus squad is even in the fucking server. What an absolute disgrace this is. You can make some criticism of these players, but I think that's a pretty legitimate lineup, quite frankly. I don't know where the massive criticism is. Put it this way, what criticism did this guy make of it? This is the thing that I hate, right? When people say, oh, this is wrong. Yeah, but why? That's just wrong. Fantastic. So even if you were right, even if you had some amazing explanation, it's all in your brain and we don't get access to it. I'd suggest the reason why you didn't say it is either you're a cretin who can't speak, you can't articulate yourself, therefore it doesn't matter if you say they're wrong, you can't articulate it, or you haven't articulated it and we might see it and see that actually your reasoning is a load of bunk, a load of nonsense. So what this guy should have done, rather than be given 278 points, is he should have actually explained, right, Fraud, why did you think he would work out? Washed up player like Shinobi, never did anything before, like wasn't that good? Oh, Death, like UKCS, haha, whatever they'd say about him. Sanks, oh, he was in Neelam, he's like the only non-good player in Neelam, no one wanted him. Roka, oh, have you seen what he's done since then? Because I imagine that's how this guy's logic thinks in hindsight. Oh, after the team he was shit, so we should have known he was shit before. I don't know how that works, but these guys, people... I mean, on one level, maybe they're so smart that their brains actually, move outside. They defy the permanence of time. I doubt it, though. I like this comment, actually. This is in a thread that says, please use TeamSpeak, Skype, Mumble, or Discord if you want to communicate in your mother tongue. The implication being not English, where if you play in Europe, obviously, people are going to be speaking a lot of different languages. So this one, 112 points. No shit. If your teammates are talking their own language over voice comms, mute them. They obviously don't care about communications. There's a reason the mute function is there. Now, as usual, Whenever you say this to people, you tell them to use the mute function that exists. They cry and they go, I shouldn't have to do that. And, but if I do that, then I can't communicate to one person on the team, and then we don't have proper communication. Now, what I don't understand about this is, first of all, one, I shouldn't do that. It's essentially saying life isn't fair. This isn't fair. Yeah, life isn't fair, and every game is not equal. So the question is, do you want to make the best of the game that exists now? If you want to make the best of the game that exists now, and you're someone who can't handle them speaking their own language and refusing to speak English, then muting them will make things better for you now, will make less distractions, and at least the other players who do speak English you can communicate with. There's not going to be any distraction there. By the way, the only place Doublelift will be seeing Sword Art is online. So not much has changed there, has it? Weeb. So, okay, let's just wait a second. That's already quite worrying, right? But how about this? How about I really burst that little bubble that you have about other players that you might think are shit, that I see fans all the time bag on, say they're garbage, they shouldn't even be able to play at tier 1, like they're washed, like they're just stealing checks. Let's go look at some other players for a second. Now, as I referenced before, my boy Shocks, who's a player who actually has returned to top level form way more times than all of my stars, and with way more consistency, he's actually had, aside from the fact he didn't win the majors, in terms of individually, I think he's had a better career in CSGO than all of my Stern. You can take that to the fucking bank, as FaZe Clan sadly have to every single month. Because, I mean, it's absolute nonsense the way people act as though like there was no process there, and in big name investigative journalists are just making up stories and just rattling anything off, like, oh, see if I can get some hits off this, and there's no repercussions, and apparently they're all liars and most of the stories are wrong. Obviously that is literally, that's a ridiculous sci-fi world, alternate reality that has no bearing on our own, that befits like the concept of the feminist patriarchy or something. It's absolute lunacy. But here's the thing. What could Rock's Tigers have actually done in this scenario? What were their options once Jacob Wolf published the report? And I've always thought it was a shame that, unfortunately, because he comes from CSGO and he's never been super duper into Korean side of esports, he's never had that same pull like the rest of us, that Korea's mecca and you've got to go there and get involved in the scene. Because if he'd have ever gotten involved in the scene and he'd have gone and done this sort of investigative journalism in Korea, he would have been like an atom bomb dropped upon them. Like, as in, they're just going on their lives, like in the city of Hiroshima, like, just living their lives, riding bikes, buying flowers, getting groceries, kissing a kid on the cheek, and all of a sudden, in comes the atom bomb, and they're all just dead, and there's fucking shadows burned into the walls, etc. And in an instant, it all changes like that forever. That's what he would have been like if he'd have come in heavily to Korean esports. Because these companies, it's a big no-no that you ever go and leak these things, and that you talk about things without getting permission, and that you dare to go to sources behind the scenes, and that you dare potentially reveal information that could influence business deals within their scene. That doesn't happen. If that happens, they're so controlling of all the Korean companies and journalists that they'll just revoke your press access. Now you can't get into the games. They'll tell the teams, don't talk to this person, actually. We don't want you communicating with them. They'll cut you out that way. So he would have been to them like fucking LSD. He would have just destroyed all boundaries, blown their minds. And I think actually LSD is a good analogy because the reaction of the controlling forces, the hierarchy, the hegemony of the Korean esports scene would have been like it was to LSD and drugs. Like, make everything illegal, like repress it all, like the 70s, push it all down again, let's get rid of it all, put them all in jail, they're all traitors, they're all scumbags, send in the agent provocateurs, screw them all up with fake stories and stuff. I think that's what would have happened. So they're lucky that never happened, okay? They're getting away lightly with stories like this coming out.
I work hard to make sure I get mine, but no one can do it all on their own, and that's why everyone needs a support group. And so I have my Patreon community. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Maybe you want to ask a question in one of these monthly AMAs. Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming guests are? Or maybe you want to take part in one of those long discussions where you can help set the table of the topics and join in with other like-minded people? Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link below, as the following people who I very much appreciate did: Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Ahmed Hadjou, Kyle, Bot Pounder 420, Toucan, Animosity, Tobias Bernasconi, Jensen Goh, Tosh, and always, you know it, a special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion.